My addiction to speed and diet pills didn't start in my teenage years, as do most people's addiction. It actually started when I was 8. Let me back up for you. My mother wanted to go grocery shopping, and she had an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. So she plunked us at my father's house so that she could go grocery shopping without a screaming 8-year-old and a 2-year-old, which makes sense. However, my father took one look at me and said I was fat. That stuck with me. And throughout my high school years, I was bullied. I was called the fat kid. And I started to think, that's who I am. And that's a core belief. Your core beliefs become who you are as you age. So as I got older, I started taking pills to correct my issue. But that's not exactly how it started either. I was in college, and like all college girls, you go out on a Thursday night for ladies' night and buy the dollar drinks. And my girlfriends would always go home with a guy or have a date. And I never did. So one night I came home and I'm sitting on the floor and I'm eating cake. And I'm crying and I'm eating cake with my hands, and there's cake on me, cake on the wall, there's cake on the dog. And my roommate walks in and she says, "That's not normal." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "That's not normal." It's 2:00 in the morning. And she said to me, "There's something wrong with you. You need therapy." So I went to the school counselor. And if you know anything about school counselors, they're not versed in addiction. So she said, "Well, I have this book called the DSM. And this DSM says you're not bulimic because you don't binge and purge. And you're not exactly anorexic because you're not restricting. You're just fat." And she sent me to the fat doctor. And back then, Fen-Phen was a thing. So I got prescribed Fen-Phen. And I thought I found the miracle of drugs. I went from 160 pounds to 90 pounds like that. It was amazing. Could eat anything I wanted. But then the FDA recalled Fen-Phen. So I turned to Rip-Fuel, which was the drug of choice back then, which is also recalled. And Rip-Fuel has ephedra in it, which is the main ingredient methamphetamine, a little mahuang, which is in an asthma pump, and guarana. Guarana is the purest form of caffeine you can have. That stack was amazing. It said on the bottle, take 2 twice a day for a 200-pound male. Well, I took 4, 3 times a day to see what would happen because it was good. And it worked. Long story short, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I end up in an ER. And the doctor says to me, "You're eating your lining of your heart." I was 23 years old at that point. And he said, "If you don't stop this, you will be dead in a year." Of course, I didn't listen. He's a doctor with 10 years of medical training. What do they know? And fast forward 6 months later, different ER, different doctor, same scenario. This one got my attention by dropping the F-bomb. And he said, "You're going to be dead in 6 months. You need to stop." And at that point, I had to figure out what I was going to do. So he hands me a pamphlet for Overeaters Anonymous and a pamphlet for Narcotics Anonymous. And I go to both. OA was not for me. People crying in the basement was not for me. NA had sugar, caffeine, and nicotine. 3 of my favorite things. So I started getting happy to go to the NA meetings, which led right back to using speed and diet pills. So a friend of mine grabbed me and said, "You're going to get sober." Now, this is way back when. I didn't have money for treatment. I didn't have insurance. How was I going to do this? So she said to me, "You're going to come to yoga with me." And I went to yoga, and I remember complaining. Can't touch my toes. It's hot. I'm thirsty. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm bored. And she told me to shut up and just do it. I learned how to take my childhood trauma and bring it into a yoga room instead of opening the fridge, instead of popping a diet pill, instead of doing those things. I learned how to deal with my emotions. It takes 17 seconds for your emotion to pass. We don't learn that in school. No one tells you that if you sat with your emotions for 17 seconds, they would be gone. And that need for a diet pill or a drink or a drug or a swipe left, swipe right, or gambling would simply just go. If you learn to sit with your emotions, things shift. And I teach that to my clients. It's a big part of getting sober and getting to the next level of what they want to do is learning how to deal with your childhood trauma in a very different way. Resiliency doesn't make you better. Resiliency makes you anxious. It makes you depressed because you're stuffing everything down. And learning how to deal with those emotions changes everything.